Start recording. Hello, Professor, or whoever is grading this. Probably Jacinda. I think that's how you say your name, Jacinda. Hello. Today I will be discussing Lab 3 with the rocket ship and the applied forces of gravity and physics and everything else. Uh, Sorry, I just messed with the code, so now it's got to reload the domain. Well, I did not account for this. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna start by showing. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm gonna start by showing the finished product of the lab and how you operate it as a user. It's pretty simple. Obviously, it's kind of what Professor Ortega demonstrated in class, but you can use the space bar or W or up, not the up arrow, but W or space bar to thrust. You can use the arrows to mess with the rotation. Obviously, left and right is left and right arrow. You can't use A or D. However, the whole goal is to get from one side to the other without touching anything, which is pretty chill. I think this is pretty cool. This is probably my favorite lab so far, because I've never seen flight physics applied into a game so far. Like obviously, I've played games where you can fly, but never have I seen the process of making this happen. So I really appreciate this lab. This is great. Now that I've showed everything here, I'm gonna walk through the code. Also, I'll just double check. Everything is prefab, just so we're aware of that. Um, yeah, pretty great stuff. Let's go to the code. Um, right here, we start with our serialized inputs, so we can adjust the strength of the thrust and the rotation. Right now, it's set to 1,000 and 100. This is just like the base setting that Professor Ortega handed out. Then we got the rigid body. That way we can have like an actual object we can apply forces to, as well as I'm blanking on the name. The capsules. The colliders, yeah, okay. First we have on enable. This is important because um, it basically allows us to apply the functions to the object, the rigid body. And then starting off as soon as we start the game, we are able to retrieve the rigid body, and in that way we can apply any type of code that we have to it. In this case, it would be the physics and the forces that we use to control the rocket ship. So we have retrieved this rigid body and we store it so that way we can modify it and kind of tamper with it. Fixed update. I'd like to emphasize that we are using fixed update and rather than normal update because we're dealing with physics and when we're dealing with physics, we're going to use fixed update because it's constantly updating the data that you put into it, and it makes it a smoother transition for the physics. If it was anything else, like user input, um, there's a couple more that I can't think of at the moment. However, if it was anything other than physics, essentially, that's when we would use update. But since these deal with physics and forces, we are using them in a fixed update method. Private void process thrust. This is detecting whether or not we have the thrust button held down. In this case, it's spacebar or W. Um, yeah, and then it'll log it to the I don't know what you call it in Unity or C Sharp, but it's like a terminal. The console, yeah. Process rotation. This just determines which way it's rotating, like left or right, um, which is great. And then it'll log that as well. Um, and then once it figures out where it's going to be rotating, it then takes this apply rotation method and rotates. I guess there's not really much to say about that. It just, you know what I'm saying? Or that's pretty unprofessional. However, you understand the point. Um, yeah, that's all for the code. It's all done in the fixed delta time, so it's pretty great. This is a really cool lab. Yeah, thank you so much. I think this is gonna conclude my YouTube video for Lab 3. The rocket ship. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Let me figure out how to shut this video off.